A little bit. You know, it's almost like playing receiver. Guys that are nice and tall with long legs, they become long striders. And as a quarterback, Rich is again, like Nate Sudfeld, a big, tall, long guy. And if you're not careful, sometimes you can overstride. You can play with your feet too wide apart. And really for him, you know, that's something that we've talked about with Rich since the day he walked in the door, just trying to improve his footwork and his drops and his base when he delivers a football. And he has worked extremely hard on it. I still think he has lots of work to do in that area. I think he's only going to get better, but it's come a long way since he's been here.
How much is he just maybe around the pocket as opposed to Nate Sudfeld?
I think they're similar, to be honest with you. Rich, the great thing about Rich Lego is what he has shown to us is that he's willing to stand in the pocket. He doesn't get scared, doesn't get rattled, which is a great sign for a quarterback. He will take off and run when he has to, a lot like Nate did. I don't know from a speed standpoint if they're much different, to be honest with you, but I do know that he'll take off and run if he needs to.
You're saying that it felt like the defense has won more days than not. But going up against that defense every day, what do you see and how good can they be?
I just see a different mindset, just a different attitude, really more than anything else. And Coach Allen has his own scheme and tweaks of the scheme, but to me it's not about the scheme. I just think that they have bought in with everything that Coach Allen is trying to get those guys to do. And they're playing harder. They're playing with more focus. Their eyes are a lot more disciplined than they were a year ago. So from that standpoint, things have been positive, and I know they're excited for a big year. Wes Rogers? Yeah. You know, Wes has developed since the time that he's been here, and now it's his time, to be honest with you. And he has done a phenomenal job with Coach Fry, just learning all the ins and outs of playing center, making the protection calls, and fixing some problems when you're down there with the big guys. And he has accepted that challenge and that role. He's worked hard at it. And I know this last year, I know it's an important year for him. And like I say, he's been a phenomenal leader of those guys up front. And really, if you look at our O-line in general, we have some guys that have played some football. We have some depth. There's a good group of seniors in there. And we certainly expect him to carry the flag, much like the guys the last couple of years have done.
Could be you guys are dealing with wet footballs Thursday. You know, has there been enough variance in the weather here to make you feel comfortable that Richard throws a wet football?
You know, I actually do. And I tell you, as a wide receiver coach, one of the things that you put on your list every year during preseason is let's make sure we get some wet ball drills. And lots of times that means carrying out a bucket of water, dumping the ball in the bucket, and then throwing the ball to your receivers to make sure they catch it. But we've actually had 2 or 3, 4 practices where we went out purposely and played in the rain to make those guys feel it and learn how to deal with it. So I do feel as comfortable, I guess, as I've ever been going into a first game that we've at least had those experiences. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but we've at least have felt it and dealt with it and had to manage it in a practice situation.
Clyde Newton, his conversion to running back, how has that gone and what makes that possible?
Well, he played it in high school, so there's a little bit of background and familiarity with him in playing running back. And really, his style of play allows him to be a physical downhill runner. The transition from linebacker, in which you need guys to be downhill players and play physical, really translate to his game as a running back. I think he's a short yardage guy. He's a downhill runner. He's a physical blocker. So I just think that experience from high school, just his overall game in general, and man, he's really worked his butt off just to try to learn the offense and has watched extra film and has spent time with Coach McCullough. And he's been a pleasant surprise. Glad we got him, and really looking forward to what he can do on game day.
Like the potential for two-way players. I know it's harder and harder in this era to see that, but can that be successful in measured doses?
I think it's really hard to play two ways. I really do. It's just to spend the amount of time that you need to on film and then on practice with your technique. I think it's pretty tough to be able to do individual skills on offense and individual skills on defense and study both films. I think that's tough. I think there are situational players where sometimes you can bring a guy over for a goal line set. Maybe you take a fullback and you put him back at linebacker for a short yardage set. But, man, I just think it's hard to do it full time, being able to play both ways. It's a lot of work.
In what ways have you kind of seen Ricky Jones take ownership of his seniority in his program? In what ways is he kind of taking the ball
You know what? More than anything else, I would say just with his efforts. And I made the comment about a week ago that on the practice field, he just doesn't get tired. And for me, I can see something going inside of his mind that this is my time, this is my year, this is my group, and I'm going to show these kids this is how you do it, this is how you work. And it's been really, really impressive. I mean, he comes to work with a great attitude every day. Phenomenal leader on the field just with his work ethic, but in the meeting room as well. Because, you know, Ricky's a soft-spoken young man. But when he gets around those receivers, the younger guys, that he's trying to point out things that work, what doesn't work, tendencies you're looking for. Just he's been a great mentor to my younger wide receivers. But more than anything else, when we step on that field, there's no doubt who's going to work the hardest of all the receivers. A little bit of that. I just think guys are different when they realize my clock's running out. I have 3-4 months of football left and then I'm done. And I just have noticed that switch flip in his head. Not that he was ever bad before. I just think it's stood out more and been even better this year.
How much do you think last season played into Ricky Jones' focus in practice?
Quite a bit. You know, really last year was his first full-time season and really had a great season for us. It was very productive. Was consistent and did a lot of good things. So I think there is a little bit, probably some confidence level that's back, knowing that I did it a year ago. We all knew what he was capable of doing. Now he's getting the chance to go do it.
It's kind of a loaded question, but did you ever think he'd get to this point? I mean, you guys talked about him playing early, and he did, and then he had the ankle injury, and that just kind of kept seeming to flare up on him for a couple of years.
Yeah, it did. Again, if he hadn't gotten hurt early in his career, he probably would have been a 4-year starter, just kept rolling throughout it as his career went on. You know, we really started him as a slot receiver when he first got here, and because of need and necessity, we moved him outside, and he's really found a home there. So again, he's done nothing but improve. He's overcome a lot of adversity, and at this point in time, he's been hands down the leader in my room, along with Mitchell Page and some other seniors. But just done a phenomenal job since August.
A lot of guys that have shown great leadership on offense, but how much have you seen the culture of leadership change in this program since you got here?
Quite a bit. And I think, you know, when we first got here, no one ever said, that's not how we do it here, or this is how we do it here. You know, I don't know that there was really a standard. And it's taken a couple years to get that standard set. But now the guys know. You know, Dan Feeney can look at a lineman and say, whoa, that's not acceptable. That's not how we do it. Ricky Jones can do the same thing, and Devine can go in the running back room, and Danny Friend, you know, in the tight end room. So for us as coaches, that's a great thing because now they know exactly what we want, and I don't think that our kids feel like they're getting picked on, if you will. Now they know what's acceptable and how we do things, and if you don't do it, you know, you almost get kind of pushed out. You feel like you're the odd man out if you don't do it how we're going to do it. So it's a credit to Coach Wilson and what he's done with this program, credit to our kids for buying in. And again, you look at a lot of these 4th and 5th year seniors, they're a product now of doing this year after year, and we're getting some of the results that we want.